Good afternoon. This is Maggie. I'm making another video for you today, and the subject that I'm talking about this afternoon is intuition. Now, as I said before, if you want to look on my website, the Tudor House Holistic Centre, or there is Facebook page, the Tudor House Holistic Centre, you'll find out a bit more about me and what I do here in this lovely building. And message me if you want. I've got all my contact details on there. So today we're going to talk about intuition. Now, first of all, I'm going to say what I originally thought it was years ago when I was told was this sort of feeling that something isn't quite right, or that something is great, or that something's going to happen. Kind of like a sixth sense, people say. A sixth sense, it's like an extra sense that some people have that gives them like insight into what can happen or what people are like. And then I did all my research and looked at Iamblichus and all the other books that I've read, and did Reiki and healing and all, learned about tarot and all the other things. And now I've come to the conclusion that intuition is kind of a bit more than that. The idea is really, the understanding that I've come to is based on two things that Iamblichus said. The first thing is that intuition is like part of our ability to see into what's going on as a whole, past, present, future. And that's because the whole of spiritual experience is really like a hologram. And that's also referred to by Robert Lanza. Although he doesn't talk about it as a hologram, he says that as human beings, we create our own versions of space and time out of this vast arena of potential vibrations that we live in. And that contains everything, past, present, future. All the people that have ever been in this room are still here, for instance, things like that. Only obviously, because it would be really crowded in here, or if they were still here, I've just evolved to understand, only see this bit of time and space, this three-dimensional space. And human beings kind of pick their way through this expanse of time and space in a way that makes sense to them. So as organisms, we've evolved to do that. So this expanse of time and space is also could be referred to as the one, or total energy, or universal consciousness. Now, Iamblichus said that the gods, which I understand to mean the universe, are without us as well as within us. And this is where the idea of a hologram comes in, because if universal space-time is a hologram, then you can break it up into little bits, and each of us contains the whole thing, which is why human beings can be whoever we want to be. And there's lots and lots of stuff that's been written about how to manifest things, how to become who you want to be, how to defeat your programming, how to defeat your learned patterns of behavior. And the reason we can do that is because we each contain everything. And we are limited by our physical capabilities, although there are many people who are disabled or otherwise have different physical abilities that can transcend them and do the most amazing things. So this is part of the idea behind the law of attraction and manifesting and things like that, is because we can all be whatever we want to be, and we're only limited by our beliefs and by our capabilities, and by how much hassle we want to go through as well to get to it, for instance. So if whatever is without us is also within us, this means that each of us can access this world of limitless knowledge. It's as if we've all got a Google browser in our heads that can allow us to tap into it. Now, some people are really good at it and some people aren't, but every single person on the planet can do it. Also, animals, birds, all sorts of beings, we can all do this. Babies do it all the time, and animals do it with the way they negotiate their way around the world. And you can even see, some dogs and cats like some people and they don't like others, and you can't really see why, but it might be because they're sensing something that we can't see. Humans don't tend to access the whole of it, because I think if we did, it would be very uncomfortable for us to know everything. And it's as if there is a kind of safety valve where we're almost not allowed to know everything, or maybe it's our own higher selves that's saying you don't need to know that. But if it's useful for us to know something, we will know it. For instance, in a lot of major disasters that have happened in the world, for instance, things like plane crashes and the 9/11 disaster in New York with the planes flew into the building, I read somewhere that about 20% of people, more people, were off sick that day than normally would be. And it's the same when a plane crashes, sometimes there are less people on board than should be. So it's as if people kind of knew. I mean, obviously, it would have been nice if everybody had known, but um, it is, people do seem to have this sort of ability. Now, Iamblicha said that there's two kinds of knowledge. There's knowing and there's not knowing. So, which is a bit confusing until you think about this, how it relates to intuition, because knowing is where you know how to drive a car, although obviously they didn't have them then, but drive a car, build a house, cook a meal, put your makeup on, stuff like that. That's how you know how to do things, which is obviously really useful and indeed essential if we're going to negotiate our way through life. But not knowing, he describes as more of, it's like a feeling. It's like having access to this pool of universal knowledge. And Iamblicha said that not knowing is more useful than knowing. Because if you have access to the whole of knowledge, you've obviously got access to more knowledge than people normally have in their everyday life, which is useful. So, for instance, you might, think you want to leave your job, but you've just been offered a promotion, so you're not sure whether to leave or not. You might have a feeling you should leave. Logically, perhaps you shouldn't, but then you think, oh, I don't know, this doesn't feel right. And then you find out after you leave that the company's gone bust. So that's your intuition kicking in and telling you something you need to know. So the other question becomes then, how do you know if it's intuition and how do you know if you're just imagining it? Well, usually intuition is empowering and paranoia, like if you think everybody hates you or something, is disempowering. That's one way to look at it. Also, another way to do it is to practice and follow your intuitions and see if they're right or not, if you see what I mean. If it's safe to do so, of course, because, there are also some people who suffer from delusions and things, like if they've taken illegal substances or something like that. So in that case, if you have an intuition that you should jump out of a window because it would be great and you could fly, I wouldn't recommend that you do that. That is not a good thing to do, obviously. But if it's safe to do so, follow your intuition and see where it goes. So one way to do it might be to do what I call spiritual shopping, which is a fun thing to do. And it's quite helpful if you're stuck for something that you want to buy and you're not sure where to get it from. So what you do is you find a shopping centre with and you've got something in mind that you want, or you've got somebody in mind that you want to buy a present for and you don't know what to get them, or something like that. Or maybe you just fancy a mooch and you think, okay, where should I go? And just look around and just see where you're drawn to go to, and just go there and see what happens. And sometimes you get drawn to a shop and the exact same thing that you want is right in front of you. And sometimes it's just an interesting place. And sometimes you meet somebody that you should meet, or perhaps someone you haven't seen for ages, or, something like that. It's quite a fun thing to do. And it's interesting to see what happens. I love going for long walks by the seaside and just wandering up paths and just see where they go, just see what happens. Carefully, of course. So that's a good way to practice your intuition. Just use it. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the better it gets, and see what happens. And hopefully you'll have fun and expand on awareness by doing that. Now, I'm not saying that everything I say is 100% right. I mean, obviously I think it is, but feel free to disagree with me, because I'm very much a fan of free speech and everybody having their own opinion. So do put comments in the post if you disagree with me or if you agree with me, and I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on this. And then, so that will be it then. Till next time, where I'll talk about something else. If you want me to talk about something in particular, then put it in the comments and I'll make a video about it. So have a lovely afternoon and hope to see you soon.